Okay, we're going to get started here. We have about an hour, although I'm happy to go longer if people have extra questions. We're going to get through as many questions as possible today. But just so you know that you're in the right place, my name is Claire Briglio. I'm the Communications and Business Disruption Resource Director for the Economic Development Collaborative and the Small Business Development Center for Ventura and Santa Barbara County. And I know that we have several of our partners, clients, and key stakeholders in both counties on this webinar today. We are anticipating over 250 people joining us by the end. So we had a tremendous response, and I just want to thank you for your time this afternoon. I know there's been so many webinars that you can join. There's so much information going on out there, so I appreciate you being here. Just a couple housekeeping items. If you haven't heard and you just joined us, if you're using the chat feature to ask questions, I'm going to encourage you to move them over to the Q&A, because we will have a Q&A time at the very end. I have about a 20-minute presentation to go through, and then we'll get to your questions. If we don't get to all your questions, do not worry, because we'll have an electronic record of them, and we will get you answers in as timely in order as we can. I bet though that most of your questions will be answered by the presentation and by listening to the answers of the other questions that are being asked. Okay, so I'd encourage you to listen through to the end. If you're having technical difficulties, please use the chat feature if you can't hear or something else is going on, and we'll have a team member help you with that. But the questions go in Q&A. And additionally, I want to say just before we get started that we know that we are in a tremendous moment of time in history, and you're important, your questions are important, your business is important. And I've worked personally through 3 now federally declared disasters in as many years in Ventura and Santa Barbara County. I've worked with many of you that I know that are on the call today. And in this unprecedented moment, I am very encouraged and frankly surprised by some of the government aid that's currently available that we'll be talking about. But we know that there's still a lot of questions on how those programs are going to be rolled out. So I want to just say that up front. We are not going to have every answer, but we're going to do the best that we can to guide you to the correct information to help and empower you to make the decision that you need to make. And this morning I was just thinking about the clients that make it through disruption. And we talk about resiliency all the time, but that spirit for me is personified by one of my favorite characters in history, who's Sir Winston Churchill, who said, history will be kind to me, for I intend to write it. And this is your moment to write your history. This is my moment to write my history. And some of the businesses that we're talking to, some of the clients that we're talking to, you know, at the end, I know that they're going to decide, like, their business model needs to shift. Their understanding of government, of how government works, needs to change. Their personal capacity needs to increase so that their business can grow. They need to change their marketing structure, whatever it is. What I'm going to encourage you to do before we go through this today, or before the end of the weekend, is consider, what is this moment giving you that you didn't have before? Because you're in charge of your story. Don't let these circumstances write your story for you. So with that being said, I'm going to go directly to the presentation. I'll be sharing my screen. Give me 1 second. Yes, I want to share. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, that was not the one that was meant to come up. I'm going to close that. Sorry, give me 1 second. We're working with technology that sometimes is temperamental. Why isn't this starting? Okay. Now, team, can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are talking about navigating local, state, and federal resources for employers, self-employed individuals, and employees. Now, some of this may be a review for you, but sometimes we need to hear things 3 or 4 times before we take action. So if that's you, please pay attention. The first thing that we recommend as any business service provider is to contact your insurance provider. And we've been telling people this for 2 years. Get business disruption insurance. Get business disruption insurance. We know how important that is for businesses who experience disruption. At the same time, we are also very aware that in both Ventura and Santa Barbara County, there have been many insurance providers who have said, guess what? We don't cover virus. We don't cover pandemic. I'm going to tell you to wait on that. We don't know yet how the federal government is going to respond in this moment. They do have the ability to override and create a scenario where insurance providers are required to pay. So wait. I would also recommend making an application to your insurance provider, making a claim if you do have business disruption insurance, and even if they're saying no, this isn't covered, it doesn't matter. I would still encourage you to file a claim, because we don't know how this is all going to shake out. Number 2 is track your losses. For most of these programs and loans that I'm going to be talking about today, tracking your losses is essential to knowing exactly how much you're going to be asking for and how much you're going to need potentially in the future. Number 3, do you have performance-based contracts with your suppliers or customers? This is really important because we've already talked with quite a few clients who they're in their supply chain. A number of their suppliers have claimed force majeure. If you're not familiar with that title, it's just basically, or that phrase, it just basically means I'm not responsible because this was totally out of my hands. It was an act of God. And so therefore their business is left without the supplies that they ordered. And so we have an attorney that can help with that. She's on staff with us, and she can help navigate you through those limitations of liability and claims that you might be receiving. Number 4 is file for unemployment. If you have lost wages or hours due to COVID, the impact of COVID-19, I highly encourage you to file for unemployment. I know we're going to have questions about self-employed individuals. The CARES Act extended benefits to self-employed individuals. Their system, the EDD system, has not caught up with the CARES Act yet. But you need to file just so you're in their system. And we'll talk about how to do that in a moment. And lastly, understand your capacity and your cash reserves. I can't stress this enough. Now working with hundreds and hundreds of clients who have gone through disruption, most people exhaust their personal reserves and or their line of credit, their business line of credit with their bank. You do not have to do that right now. And in fact, I would say that probably most of you are limited in your cash reserves because of the impact that we've experienced in Ventura County and Santa Barbara County alone in the last 3 years. So don't exhaust your personal resources until you fully understand what the government is offering at this time. The next thing is to compare benefit and program options. Now, I know this is going to be tricky, and they all have different, eligibility and options that may or may not work for you. But the current federal programs and benefits available are EDD Workshare, EDD Partial Unemployment, EDD Unemployment, SBA Paycheck Protection Program, and the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which I will refer to as EIDL moving forward. Notice that I'm also clarifying that these are EDD and SBA programs. Our office, the Small Business Development Center, and the Economic Development Collaborative are not the EDD, and we are not the Small Business Administration. So just to clarify that from the beginning, we serve as partner organizations. The SBA in part funds our efforts, but we do not give SBA loans, for example. We give guidance on what might be appropriate for you, but we are not those offices. So just to clarify that. And the same goes with the EDD. So starting with the EDD Workshare program, the benefits of the Workshare program minimize or eliminates the need for layoffs. It allows you to retain your trained employees. It avoids the cost of recruiting, hiring, and training new employees because you're retaining them on a part-time basis. And employees do not have to apply for full unemployment. To really any business or industry can apply. And this allows you to quickly gear up your business when conditions approve. So for example, because we've had so many questions on this, the EDD Workshare program works best. I'm just going to say, just in brief, it works best in manufacturing or production type environments where the temporary setback is known. Like I know that my production is going to decrease by 20%. It's a little more difficult if it fluctuates. It's 20% versus 30% one week and then 50% the other week, because it has to apply to all of your employees. So if you have 100 employees, you want to take, in this example, you want to take, and you had a 20% decrease in production, then all your employees would be working 4 days versus 5 days. So the employees would receive 20% of their unemployment insurance benefit. And again, this is just a high level overview of what this program is. To apply for Workshare, you're going to file the DE 8686 form with the EDD, and the earliest date for a new work sharing plan to become effective is the Sunday before the first date you contact the EDD. So as we have worked with employers specifically in Ventura County, because there's quite a number of manufacturers, they might have been using Workshare before, and it's been helpful for them, but when their production starts to decrease even more so, and they need to eventually lay off employees, there are additional options, and I'll mention that in a second. So for employers, if you need additional information, you have the number on the screen. For those listening, it's 916-464-3343. And for employees, if you have questions regarding your claim, it's 916-464-3300. What's important to note is that employers, and this is true for all unemployment insurance programs, okay? So quick HR lesson. Employers are charged for work sharing unemployment insurance benefits the same as regular UI benefits. So you're paying each pay period into that employee's account, and the employee is paying a portion of their paycheck into that account. And work sharing benefits are charged to the reserve account of those employees who are in the employee's base period in the same manner as regular unemployment insurance benefits. So it behaves exactly the same way. The reason that's important is because we are in this period of time, in this transition period of time, where we don't know, like, when is the federal government going to give a reprieve to businesses and allow commerce to begin again. If you're interested in the work sharing program, you want to visit your DE 2088 form, which the EDD mails out every February to review what do you have in that unemployment reserve account. If you know what that is, you can begin to start tracking how much you have to put employees on possible work share, or to put employees on partial unemployment. So partial unemployment is for employers who obviously want to retain their employees. The employer certifies that the employee is expected to return to work by a certain date. So it behaves as furlough. The employer suggests they're going to return to work by a specific date. You file a DE 2063 form, and employees are not required to look for a new job during this time, because there's a sort of certification from their employer that they're going to come back to work. So that's the difference between full unemployment and partial unemployment. So unemployment benefits right now have been expanded, and most of you will be familiar with this, but benefits for have been expanded for self-employed individuals and employees. If you have lost hours or wages due to the impact of COVID-19, we encourage you to file for unemployment benefits. The CARES Act increased the premium over the usual rate of unemployment insurance and extends the entire length of unemployment benefit terms. Okay, so in the state of California, the highest amount that you could claim weekly or you could receive weekly in unemployment was $451, I believe, or $450. And that there is a $600 increase over that $451. If you are a highly compensated employee, for example, you would reach that $451, but not everyone will. Like if you were a server or worked in hospitality or worked at minimum wage, you most likely would not be receiving $451 a week from the EDD. But whatever your base premium is, whatever that is defined for you, the federal government is giving you an increase of $600 over that until July 31st, 2020. So after that point, you're set back to the rate that you had before. I had the question asked, and I'm just going to answer this question now. What happens, are the benefits for self-employed individuals the same as the benefits for W-2 employees? You know what, that's tricky because your self-employment benefits are determined based on a rolling 15-month period or 12-month period, 15 or 12-month period before you actually file. So if you're a self-employed person, but you just had a W-2 job and you maintain that job for, up until 2 months ago, your rate is going to be much different than someone who's been self-employed for 10 years. So in a self-employed situation, the state government, the EDD will decide what your rate will be, and they will add an additional $600 to that, just like everyone else, and then that rate will end as of July, and you'll go back to whatever your other premium was. Maybe it was $250 or whatever it is, and that's what you would be receiving. The longest period of time that you can collect unemployment under this law is 39 weeks. Okay, so it's not, and that's based upon the date that you are approved. You begin receiving unemployment tomorrow. You have 39 weeks from that date to receive unemployment benefits if, for example, you aren't able to work or were unable to find a job. And to apply for unemployment, go to the EDD website. Okay, the Paycheck Protection Program. It's the Paycheck Protection Program's birthday today. Most banks were meant to be up and ready running this program today. We all know, well, maybe we all don't know, but my phone has been ringing off the hook all morning. I don't know how my partners have been doing about clients calling and saying, hey, we can't get any information about this. My bank doesn't know anything about it, etc. Here's the thing. This program is still being worked out, and that's become very obvious in the last 6 hours. So we've had clients calling from Montecito saying that Bank of America was giving them the runaround, but Montecito Bank and Trust was helping them. The same scenario has happened in Ventura County. So I would encourage you, if you are already in the process of applying for this program, to be persistent and also be patient, because the banks are in a tight position right now as well, with being given the directive to release this program in a very, very short period of time. So essentially, this program is meant to be a loan, and I'll get into the forgivable part, but a loan program that can be accessed through any institution that offers SBA 7A guaranteed loans. So that's most large financial banking institutions, but there is a website that can clarify which banks you can actually go to, and I'll share that with you in a second. You want to check with your bank before to see if they are an approved local lender. The new loan program will be available retroactive from February 15th, 2020. So if you've already laid off employees, you can rehire them through June 30th, 2020 to receive the benefit of this program. And the whole intention around this program is employee retention. is to not put your workers on unemployment, for example, but to retain them. And you know, in reality, if the program was, if the application process worked smoothly and you received the 2.5 months or eight weeks of coverage for your employee labor costs, those employees literally could be sitting at home with no work, and it would be fine because you would be paying them, and it would still kind of behave like unemployment. But this is an effort to keep them retained as employees by you. The Paycheck Protection Program will be available through June 30th, 2020. So be advised, there is a small window of time here. Today, the small businesses and sole proprietors can apply, and April 10th, independent contractors and self-employed individuals can apply. So key features here: eligibility, all small businesses, including nonprofits. To clarify which nonprofits, these are 501c3s and 501c19s, veteran organizations, tribal concerns, sole proprietors, self-employed, independent contractors with 500 or fewer employees, or no greater than a number of employees set by the SBA as the size standard for certain industries. Your maximum loan amount can be $10 million. So if you have a large payroll, this might work for you. The loan is designed to be fully forgiven. That is the design. If proceeds are used for payroll costs and other designated business operating expenses in the 8 weeks following the date of the loan origination. Now, I am telling you that the loan is meant to be fully forgiven. That's the purpose of the loan. But what we're seeing right now is that different banks, if you can imagine going to get you want a car and you go to a Bank of America lender, or you go to Ventura County Credit Union's lender, your experience at each of those institutions is going to be slightly different. And the reason I'm saying that is, even though we are still not clear on how banks are going to be making that determination on that fully forgivable loan. So I want to make that really clear. If you're applying for this, I would demonstrate extreme responsibility and ownership over your own income tracking and payroll and expense tracking, so you can get fully reimbursed for this program. The loan will be fully forgiven if the funds are used for payroll costs, interest on mortgage, rent, and utilities, due to likely high subscription. At least 75% of the loan forgiven amount must have been used for payroll. All loans under this program will have the following identical features. The interest rate as of yesterday or this morning was changed to 1%. Maturity at 2 years. So this is a 2-year loan. The first payment is deferred for 6 months. It's 100% guaranteed by the SBA. The beauty of this is there's no collateral, no personal guarantees, no borrower or lender fees payable to the SBA. So if you go to a bank and they're telling you otherwise, that's not true. And we are also suggesting that information to bring or to prepare in advance for this is payroll documentation for the last 12 months for a period between February 1st, 2019 and January 31st, 2020. You can find a lender at the at the website that I have listed below. This is on the SBA's website. Okay, the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the EIDL loan. This is an amazing loan that was offered during the Thomas and Woolsey fires. Many of you may be familiar with this, but under the CARES Act, the loan has been expanded in a couple ways. So this loan is up to $2 million, up to 30-year terms. And I say that very specifically, up to 30-year terms. We have clients who applied for $200,000 and received a 15-year term. So that's not something that you can decide or negotiate with the SBA. They set those terms for you, depending on your cash flow, depending on your financial wherewithal. It's 2.75% for nonprofits and 3.75% for businesses, including now independent contractors and self-employed. So for eligible businesses, including faith-based organizations, nonprofits, 501c, D, or E are eligible for this. It waives the personal guarantees and requirements for at least 1 year in business for applications for less than 200,000, which was pretty amazing. And it includes an upfront payment of, again, up to $10,000 for successful applicants that will be treated as a grant. And this is, again, something to be cautious of in my mind. This is an up to $10,000. When I asked for clarity on why or what would be the determining factor of how one would get 10,000 and how someone might get 5, the answer was based on the number of employees. So as a sole proprietor or independent contractor with no employees, for example, I'm not sure if that $10,000 grant would be extended to you. But just for sake of argument, let's say you did receive the $10,000 and you also received a loan for $50,000. Per the SBA guidelines, that $10,000 would be forgivable. No questions asked there, it is forgivable. And then the $40,000 remaining in your loan would be the repayable debt. Excuse me. The loans may be used to pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills. So we've had several clients ask in the past few days, can I apply for EIDL? Can I also apply for PPP? The answer, according to the SBA, is yes. But again, you have to be very careful on what you're asking for in each of these loans. Okay, so if the loans may be used to pay fixed debts and accounts payable and other bills, and that's what you're asking for this EIDL loan for, and for the PPP program, you're asking for that just to cover payroll, fine. But they have to be completely separate, and you have to make sure that you're tracking that accordingly so that you can get that portion of your loan on the PPP side forgiven, because you want that portion forgiven. Now, I advised the client earlier, and if there's a CPA online, they might not agree with me, that's fine. But in this situation, I suggested that if you were to receive both pools of money, that you actually put them in different accounts, that you pay from accounts, and that you track it very carefully. Because again, the whole point of the PPP program is that it's forgivable, and we make sure that clients are in best resourced and best positioned to have that loan forgivable. So that you're showing, oh, all my payroll just came out of this account with those PPP funds. So keep them. Don't exercise caution when you receive this money. The filing deadline for injury loans is December 6th. Regardless of what your current financial position is, and I'm just going to harp on this for a moment, regardless of what it is, if you have $100,000 in the bank or whatever it is, I always encourage people to apply for the economic injury loan, because you do not know what the next 6 months are going to be. I just counseled a client who has a jewelry business, and we projected there's an $800,000 potential loss if she's not able to open before the end of the year. That's what she's going to share with the SBA after she completes the loan application. Be sure to project 8 months out, because we don't know. I mean, I hope tomorrow everything changes, but who knows what's going to happen. The other thing is that even when, and I know, obviously working in economic development, we see this often, you turn the lights back on in the economy, it doesn't mean we're running at the same speed. Okay, I hope you know that. So you need to project potential loss. Like, when did what is it going to be? Is it going to be 30%? What is it going to be? Because it's going to take some time for people to get back into the market. Additionally, and lastly, on the SBA loan, the SBA has implemented automatic deferment on existing SBA loans through the end of 2020. So if you already have an existing SBA loan, I'm sure they've already been in contact with you. I hope they have. You don't actually need to request a deferment. That's just automatic. 2 additional local loan options, and I know I'm going to get this question. The state just released one earlier today. Sorry, it didn't make it to the slides in time. But the EDC, our Economic Development Collaborative, has a low interest loan at 4.25%. It's a fast track loan. It's from $5 to $50,000, and first 3 months it's interest only, and it's on a 48-month term. So you are welcome to apply for that. I'll give you instructions on that later. And Women's Economic Ventures, who is always going above and beyond, helping people and small businesses in disruption. One of our favorite partners is offering a $10,000 loan with a 4.5% interest rate at a 36-month repayment schedule. And they're still offering those loans. I talked with the loan officer, or Nikki, today. So question, what option is best for you? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. What option works best for you? These are some key considerations to think about as you're navigating this decision. The SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan and Paycheck Protection Program are meant to cover different expenses. So yes, you can apply for both. And PPP covers payroll, and there's a deadline, and we already talked about that as June 30th. But I was working with a client today, and she mentioned, you know, that the Economic Injury Disaster Loan application is like 10 minutes long. Here's the thing. You fill out that loan application, and then you're going to get a call from the SBA, and then they're going to walk you through what you need to give them. So that's the first step in the loan application process. It's not the last. So that's not the full application. They are working very hard on the back end to streamline the process. And we've had some clients that have gone through their process very quickly, and some clients that it hasn't worked that way for them. So be advised that short application is not the full one. SBA's Economic Injury Loan provides, again, this slide actually is up to a $10,000 upfront advance, and this advance performs as a grant. So that's something to remember, up to. EDD's work-share program works, you know, honestly, it works best in manufacturing or production environments where there are known work hours that are reduced by a certain percent. So it's much easier to apply in those types of situations. I'm going to answer this question now because I'm sure that it's out there. The work share program, if your employees are currently on work share, I've had the question, can they be then laid off and be on unemployment? The answer is yes, but you have to understand that if you're taking work share and you're combining it with unemployment, and then, or maybe your employees are on partial unemployment, they're already drawing from their unemployment benefits. So that has a certain amount of time, right? And so you don't draw more than you've already invested into your unemployment benefits. So you want to make sure that you're aware of that you are drawing from unemployment benefits when you're taking partial unemployment, and you are drawing from the employee's unemployment benefits when you participate in the work share program. Lastly, I think we all know this, SBA's Paycheck Protection Program is still being worked out. Local banks are being trained on the application process and requirements. So be advised of that. Additional services, you know, we are the Small Business Development Center for Ventura and Santa Barbara County as designated by the Small Business Administration. So our job is to act as primary voice and facilitator of communication of business resources during disruption and disaster. We work with partners like Weave and SCORE. At this point, though, our office has served nearly, I think this morning's number was 1,200. We have now 6 full-time staff being trained to answer phones. We have 4 already fully on board. We've just added another 2 just to serve our business hotline. So if you can imagine for a moment, I've shared this in other spaces, but before this moment, our website traffic was around 2,500 a month, and within a week we had 15,000 hits, and it's just continued to expand and expand and expand. And so we know that a lot of you have been calling our office. We know that a lot of you have been trying to reach a human to talk to. And so these webinars are hopefully a step forward in connecting with clients, with businesses that need assistance. If you're not a client, the instruction is to sign up on our website as a client. There will be a pop-up that appears that will take you to a Calendly link to sign up as a client. So that's what you'll want to do. If you are a client, what you need to do is follow the instructions and call our business resource hotline, which I'll share in a moment. If you are a client, you will not have a long waiting period. We just need you to call that business resource hotline. So for additional information, if you are already a client or not a client, is to visit our economic development, our edcollaborative.com/COVID-19 page. I update this resource guide regularly, almost daily. I think I missed 2 days, today being one of them. We are going to be adding more and more information as it becomes available, helpful information. How does PPP compare to the idle product? I'm creating that, finishing that product this afternoon, and it will be available in the guide to help you. Also to our city partners, we'll be sending that out as well. We are also adding resources for nonprofits because the nonprofit landscape is a little different as it applies to benefits and what you're able to apply for. So we'll be adding that next week. Stay tuned for more information. Again, my name is Claire Briglio. I'm the Communications and Business Disruption Resource Director. You can visit our resource page, which I just gave you, edcollaborative.com/COVID-19, and access, if you are a client, our business resource hotline at 805-409-9159. Lastly, we are adding a Spanish resource hotline. If you call the hotline now, we do have Spanish speaking advisors and to assist you. We have Spanish speaking intake managers to take your information, and our website is available in Spanish as well. But I'm going to stop there and hand it over to Emily, because I know we have probably quite a few questions.
Hi, Claire. We have quite a few questions, and I'm going to start by asking for everyone's forgiveness. With half of my brain, I've been trying to answer your questions as we go along, and with the other half, I've been listening to Claire's presentation. So I'm just going to go through the questions, and if you already addressed it, just let me know, and I'll just dismiss it.
Okay.
How to make an appointment with a consultant. I tried online, but it didn't allow me.
Oh gosh, I don't know what that means, because we have multiple places to sign up as, sorry, let me back up. If you are a client, then you're going to call the hotline, or you're just going to email your advisor that you've already been connected with. If you are not a client, then you're going to follow the pop-up that comes up when you visit our website and follow the prompt to the Calendly link to schedule an appointment to become a client. That's the best route.
Oh, so someone is saying, it looks like there might be a bug in the Calendly scheduler on your site. No appointments available in April, but can't move forward to the next month.
Okay, I will look at that. What we are doing, or what we have been doing, is working backwards from, because our scheduler was pushed out so far because the amount of people that needed assistance, that we were working backwards trying to get those people into intake and into the system sooner. So let me check on that. I apologize. I didn't hear. I heard someone made an appointment for May today, so I'm not sure if that's already been fixed, but I will look into that.
Great, and then maybe we can include it in the email that goes out after this.
Yes.
All right, next question. I heard that you cannot apply for the payroll protection program if you already applied for the EIDL loan.
No, so that's not true. You can apply for both. You just need to be very careful. You can apply for and receive both, but you're just going to need to be very careful on how you are managing both of those monies. Like, you can't use EIDL to pay for payroll, because the Paycheck Protection Program, that's what it's meant to do. So you want to work, I would highly encourage you, if you have the capacity, to work with a CPA who understands or have a better understanding of how to move that money and transition it to the right place if you are approved for both, but you can apply for both.
Next question. What will the forgiveness process look like with our particular bank? Will there be a form to fill out at one time? What information will be needed to prove that the loan will be forgiven?
That is an excellent question, and it's one we do not have the answer for yet. And so I spoke to a client today who went to apply for the PPP program at Bank of America, and I've looked at the application forms myself. There isn't any information that they were given or that I could find on what that type of loan forgiveness documentation would be. So some of the language that I still see on different, the Treasury and different websites is that it's forthcoming. That doesn't sound encouraging. Before you take money from the federal government, you want to know what you're getting yourself into. But we're hoping that it's going to be easy versus difficult. That's the hope.
Next question. We have an existing SBA loan for a mortgage on our office. How do we apply for the Small Business Debt Relief Program?
You have an existing loan on your mortgage. An SBA loan, that's what I heard. Is that
Yes.
accurate?
Yep.
Okay, so in that situation, that's a really good question. If some of you have small business administration loans, what we're being told is that you should go back to the bank that's facilitated that loan and ask if you can either refinance or roll it into one of these existing loan products. Now, it wouldn't be the paycheck. I don't think it would be the Paycheck Protection Program. It would make much more sense if it was EIDL. But in those situations, because you already have a relationship with the SBA and an SBA lender, go back to them and ask them what options are available for you. Can you refinance at this lower level, at this 4.75%? That might not be your mortgage interest, so I don't know. I mean, your mortgage rate, that's actually a little high. So I would encourage you to go back to your lender and the bank that you received that loan from and ask that question.
Thank you. If we have a PPP loan to help with employee and payroll and rent, can we still pay an owner dividend during the relief period?
If you still have a PPP, so in this situation, I would have to ask a little bit more, get a little bit more clarity on ownership, and if so they're taking an owner's draw versus being on payroll.
That's what it looks like. And Steve, if you want to resubmit your question through the Q&A with a little more details about the structure, then we can revisit it later. Okay, I applied for the 10,000 EIDL grant 4 days ago. I have heard nothing. Do you know if they're just inundated and not responding, or maybe they've stopped this for now?
They haven't stopped. I think that they are overwhelmed. And one thing I didn't say maybe that clearly is that the $10,000, up to the 10,000, remember it's up to, is they say it's paid out upon 3 days upon what was the phrase they used?
Successful application, I think.
Say that again, Emily.
I think the terminology is a successful application. Thank
you. Yes, it's a successful application. So in government speak, that means your loan gets approved. So it's a successful application. Within 3 days, you're meant to receive that disbursement. Now, because you haven't heard from them, it doesn't mean that it's not successful. It means that it takes, I read earlier that it can take up to 17 days to hear from a small business loan officer right now. So I would use that, and probably they didn't say business days, but most likely it would be business days.
And the process is you submit that application, then you will receive a call from an SBA loan officer, and then they continue your application.
Yes, thank you for that. We have, although, and this is in the case of rejection or non-approval, we have heard that businesses some applications have been rejected the same day that they've been submitted. Now, one thing to know is that the SBA is very careful on who they lend to, depending on your credit score. So if you're anywhere between a 650, 620 credit score, and you're submitting an application, you might be right on that line. So of not being able to be approved. So please keep that in mind. If your credit score is not, not in the easy 700s or as close to that 650 mark, that's not gospel. That's not like, but that's what I've heard in working with the SBA over the years, that could be a reason for denial. So because you haven't heard from them, that makes me, that's more encouraging to me that they're working on your application.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We are an S Corp with one employee. All other needs are provided by subcontractors. Where do our 1099 people fit in? Are they supposed to apply themselves for PPP or unemployment or other loans and funding?
They can apply for PPP, and that's a great question, because as an S Corp and you have your 1099 employees, the government will look at that in some cases as, well, they have opportunity in this moment to find their own funding. So they're not technically your employees. So so it's going to be tricky, and I can't give you, a solid answer on this, but other than the fact that 1099 contractors are eligible to apply for the PPP program. So if you're going in as an S Corp and applying for payroll coverage for them, that application might not work well for you, because the government and the SBA will look at that and say, well, they have that, they're their own contractor, they should be applying for themselves. So I would talk that through with them, and maybe even talk that through with your contractors and ask them what their plan is, and if you're approaching a bank for the PPP program, talk it through with your bank, because there will be better ways to approach this product based on, maybe it's them applying independently and you applying for yourself. Excuse me.
Sort of different take on that same question. I read that 1099 contractors cannot be included in your request for the payroll protection program. Then I heard you can include them if they are service oriented, independent contractors in a fitness facility that is service oriented.
See, okay, so that's a perfect example. So these categories the SBA has created around who is acceptable to be included as part of your application and who isn't, is something that we're still getting information on. So unless the SBA in the last, 24 hours has put a list on who is eligible in that, what are those service categories, I don't know what that is right now. I doubt that the bank is going to know too. So I would do some more research on the SBA side to figure that out. Maybe in the next week the banks would have more information, but I think we're going to have to give this at least a week to shake out and see, number one, who's doing lending, who knows what they're doing, and number two, can they provide you, again, back to that original question, can they provide you a list of eligibility requirements for loan forgiveness? Because if I was getting that loan, that's what I would want, number one. And then how are they going to work with independent contractors and S Corps and the combination of both? Excuse me.
Thank you. And we have 9 minutes left. And so I'm going to ask everyone and 57 questions. So everyone, you've submitted a question. Please look at it. And if it's already been answered, dismiss it. Thank you, please. Is PPP available for C6 nonprofits?
Oh, good question. C6 nonprofits. No, we said, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. It is on our business guide, so please go to the business guide. And it will be in the document that we release later this afternoon that compares both of the EIDL and PPP. So Emily, unless you remember, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think the EIDL, in my document, EIDL includes C6 and PPP. Our document says C3s and C19. And
Yes, I'm sorry, C6s, because C6s are chambers of commerce. Yeah, no, C6s right now are not included. And I spoke to one of the chamber directors yesterday about that. And then I heard that they were lobbying to get that changed, and I did some more research and couldn't find anything on that change yet. That was as of 2 days ago, the latest documentation. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think that they currently are. They are not currently eligible.
Okay. If you work out of a home office and deduct a portion of the mortgage and utilities for tax purposes, is that the amount I enter into the mortgage and utilities amount for the PPP loan app?
Oh, excellent question. So I would say yes, because that's your, as a sole proprietor or as a however your business structure is, if that's what you're including in on your tax forms at the end of the year and you're taking that deduction, that is what your portion would be. So I would think yes. However, you're not, I mean, I don't know. I would think yes, and then I would say talk with your tax advisor, because I can see how the government would say maybe not, because you're not paying someone else necessarily. You know what I mean? Like you're just paying your own mortgage. But that's a really good question. So I'm gonna have to pass or phone a friend for that one. phone your tax friend.
If I already paid the workers' comp and general liability insurance for my company for the year, can I add this to the total payroll amount anyway in the PPP loan, so since it was paid February 2020?
Was it paid on before the 15th?
All right, repost your question and let it in the Q&A and let us know if it was paid before or after February 15th, 2020, because that's the cutoff day, right?
The language that we read,
he says yes, it was paid
before
2/15.
That seems to be fitting with what we've read, that it's expenses that have incurred before February 15th. Which is so odd, but that's
what it says.
That's what it says. So February 15th.
Yep. If you have more than one corp, can you still apply for the one that is affected?
My understanding is yes. And when you say apply, I don't know exactly what you're applying for, but my understanding is that both of those programs, yes. If you have multiple businesses that are affiliated, there's different rules for affiliation. So I don't know, you would have to clarify that. If they're, for example, a franchise or a business that is connected to a larger organization, that might be questioned. So you have to look into the affiliation rules that the SBA applies to their loan programs, because sometimes that will kick you out.
Thank you. I filed for one part-time job with a 1099 and I have a business but no business license and give water therapy privately at a private residence with no employees. Am I eligible for any kind of financial relief? I brought in about $800 cash monthly.
Wait, okay, sorry, that was a lot. What was the situation?
So it sounds like I filed for one part-time job as a 1099, and in addition to that 1099, she has her own business without a business license and no employees. Is she eligible for any kind of relief? And she's making about 800 cash monthly.
Yes. Remember, a business license, although girl, you should get one, depending on where you are. A business license is a tax to allow you to operate your business. It's a tax imposed by the city or location that you're operating business in. But yes, I mean, I don't see the difference between if she's filing at the end of the year if she's taking all that income and filing a regular schedule, that she would be applying for unemployment as a sole proprietor, as a self-employed individual.
And you wouldn't be able to use, if you're not reporting income or wages or cash to the government, you cannot include that in your lost wages. Is that correct?
That is correct. You should be reporting wages and income to the government.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is what I'm required to say. You should be doing that. And in these situations, and for all self-employed individuals listening, there is and I'm sorry, I'm blanking. There's too much in my head right now. There is a program, an elective program that you can pay the EDD directly, quarterly premiums into disability and unemployment, just like you would as a W-2 employee. Most people don't know that. Most self-employed individuals don't know that. Most self-employed individuals don't do it. So in these moments, when we have the government actually extending unemployment benefits to the self-employed, it's a really big deal, but that usually happens last. Like, we had to wait a really long time with the Thomas fire, and this was even a long time to get disaster unemployment assistance for self-employed individuals. So moving forward, I would suggest paying into those premiums, and what that's going to require you to do is claim the full amount that you're earning. That's how you get that benefit.
So we have like 30 seconds left. We've answered 47 questions and we have 52 left, and we still have 160 participants. Do we want to keep going? Do we want to wait and answer the rest of these questions in an FAQ email after this?
No, I think we should probably keep going for at least another 15 minutes or so. I'm fine with that.
Let's do it. And again, please, if you've answered a question, go through it and make sure that it's still applicable, because maybe we've already answered it. Is it better to apply through my bank or directly to SBA for payroll protection? Oh,
so payroll protection, remember, is you're applying to a 7A bank, a bank that is an approved 7A lender. So you can go on the SBA website and find the approved list, but I would call them in advance, call your bank in advance and make sure that they are an approved lender.
For PPP payroll costs, should I include guaranteed payments?
I need more information on that. Guaranteed payments like commissions, or?
Melissa, chat us some more details and we'll come back to your question. My husband and I are the only officers in our S Corp. We are also our only employees. We get W-2s and have already filed our 2019 taxes. The S Corp is a realty in California, so we are not able to work right now. In addition, we own rental property, the income from which is personal, so they function as landlords, and that landlord income is separate from their S Corp. 3 questions. Are there funds available to us as employers, employees, and or self-employed individuals?
Yes, in that situation, I would apply for unemployment. If you are not receiving, wait, maybe I didn't understand. As a self-employed, you can apply for unemployment. You can also apply for the economic injury disaster loan. I don't think you would apply for the PPP program.
And you can overlap unemployment with EIDL.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you. We are not disabled, but because of the virus and shelter in place, we can't work right now. Should we apply for disability, unemployment, sick leave? And it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, we're applying for unemployment. Yeah.
When will PUA be available? Did we already talk about this? Should we apply for that before or after applying for unemployment?
I think she means pandemic disaster assistance. So that is a very new term for me. I'm familiar with disaster unemployment assistance. That is the program for self-employed individuals. That is what the CARES Act expanded to cover. So we're waiting for the EDD to catch up to the CARES Act. That's essentially what we're waiting for. But in the meantime, we're encouraging people to apply.
Thank you.
Remember to put your questions in Q&A and not chat, please.
Yes. Many businesses right now have let their employees go too soon, worried to downside their overhead when the stay-at-home orders were first announced, not realizing that there would be possible options provided by the government to help businesses cover retained employee costs. Are there options where employees could rehire some or all of their employees back and qualify for any of those programs to go back into business, even in a limited way?
I believe it depends on when they were let go, but yes, that's what the PPP program provides for you to rehire those employees before June 30th and cover their wages for 2 months. So in that scenario, I want to encourage also other business owners that are considering that program. Remember, that gets you through 2 months. Okay, so once you're approved, what are you going to do after June? And in those scenarios, if you bring those employees back, you get them covered, fine. Maybe then the bridge is work share, or maybe then the bridge is partial unemployment. You know, I think we're going to probably see either, we might, you know, who knows how this thing goes. We might see an extension in the payroll Paycheck Protection program, or there might be an additional bridge to keep employees on. I mean, that's the intention of that program, to retain them. And also the work share program, that's the intention of work share. So there are options for you. I would investigate the PPP first.
Thank you. And then Jamie also asked about a list of banks participating in PPP, and there's some back and forth about some are allowing only clients and some are open for all.
Yeah, yes. So we have been talking with the SBA today and have heard that they are in some ways allowing banks to make those determinations for themselves. This is disappointing in some ways because we want equal opportunity for this program. I can't personally comment beyond that, but I have heard that to be the case. So I think you're going to need to find a bank that works best for you.
So we have a whole bunch of questions about self-employed individuals and kind of each different side of that equation. So can you just speak broadly about giving some advice about what self-employed individuals should be looking at?
Okay, so self-employed individuals right now, depending on where you are in your business, could be looking at the Paycheck Protection program. You could be looking at unemployment benefits. You know, I think as I was self-employed before. I have been self-employed in the past. If I was in this situation, depending on, you know, you'd have to look at your income and also your hope for what may be available after June if you were going to do the PPP program. But your full unemployment benefits may be a better option because that takes you through July 31st and then gives you the option to wait it out for a total of 39 weeks. Now, I don't know what, it would be interesting to see what the weekly unemployment benefit is. But if you know that you're not going to get any work, then that is I think that's a better option. If you know that you will have work, you know, this is a huge question. So if you were a contractor and you lost $200,000 worth of contracts in the next 3 months because no one wants you to come and decorate their house, then that's another scenario, and you're depending on that income. Unemployment's not going to give you anywhere close to what you're making before. So the Paycheck Protection program may be a little better for 2 months, and then you're going to have to decide what to do. So these are, you know, it's hard to answer those questions because they're all different. I know everyone has a different scenario, but you want to think of the short term. What is this product giving me in the short term? Well, we know that answer with Paycheck Protection. What is unemployment giving me in the long term? Well, we know that we can claim unemployment up to 39 weeks if things don't pick up, or if my, you know, my job or my clients move out of the area or whatever it is. But if you have a lot of contracts that have been I was just talking with someone, a painter who lost $500,000 worth of contracts, and his option is to is the economic injury disaster loan right now, and unemployment. So yeah, it just depends. I'm sorry, I don't feel like that's giving you some answer. I'm giving you some shape to what that world is like, but it's so diverse. It's hard to answer.
And also evolving.
Yes, and also exactly, and also evolving for sure.
Well, and because it's evolving, everyone make sure that you are signed up with the EDD to get the updates, because this is Claire's job, is to help you understand how it evolves.
The EDC.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is what happens. This is what I do all day. I correct people. No, we're the EDC. Sorry.
Sorry. So we have a couple more questions about which programs can you overlap between EIDL, PPP, WorkShare, unemployment?
Okay, so well, you can, we've already addressed the EIDL and the PPP program. So those can go together. We've already addressed that. My understanding from the economic injury piece is that if you're claiming unemployment, that the economic injury loan also covers payroll. So you can't be covering, I think it's one or the other there, but that I'm not, and I'm thinking as a self-employed person, not as a business. So that's something else. So it just really depends. It depends on, yeah.
If an employee is getting unemployment, can the employer receive PPP?
If the employee is getting unemployment, then PPP and PPP is meant to take the place of unemployment for a period of time. So I don't see those two things working together. At the end of PPP, then there may be unemployment options if there's no work. But the employer, I don't see a scenario where, and I could be wrong on this. This is really an EDD question, because unemployment benefits do take into account any other benefit that you're receiving, work or wages, right? So just like if you got a severance from a job that you left, that's taken into consideration. So this is something that Yeah, that's something that I would ask the EDB on the unemployment side.
Thank you. For PPP, do my employees actually need to be working? We are a fitness center and have been closed down.
No, they don't need to be working, and that's a really good question, because I was confused by that as well. No, they literally could be sitting at home. The point of the program is to keep them your employees and not put them on unemployment. So at least for 2.5 months or 2 months, you have them as your employees, but they can be at home. They do not have to be working.
Thank you. Are the PPP loans first come, first serve, or is there a risk that funds will be exhausted?
Well, excellent. Again, you know, this morning we heard that one bank told a client that she better get her application in before the funds run out. I think that was totally irresponsible to say, but we, you know, the federal government has set aside a certain amount of money for this program, and I'm assuming that if it does get exhausted, that there'll be a reevaluation of what the next step should be.
Thank you.
But that being said, again, the SBA loans, sorry, I just said I was referring to PPP, but the SBA loans, yes, those are first come, first serve. And everyone in the country is applying right now. So you don't want to wait. There's no point in waiting.
Thank you. Is PPP counted as income to the business and subject to federal and/or state taxes?
We are still unsure of that. And I would refer you to a CPA or your tax advisor. We are not clear, and I haven't seen anything in the legislation that clarifies whether it is a taxable amount of money or not.
Thank you. Is an employee or self-employed person who also receives Social Security eligible for unemployment?
Is an employee or say that again?
Is an employee or self-employed person who also receives Social Security eligible for unemployment? So can you get Social Security and unemployment at the same time?
Oh, you know, I've never had that question. I don't know why not. So if this individual was laid off by their job and they're getting Social Security, which is a benefit, I don't know, but
I'm
I
not
don't.
sure. So Lynn, type us a clarification, because the question says, is an employee or self-employed person? So it's asking both sides of that, self-employed and as an employee.
Yeah, I would need to know a little bit more, but I don't know the rules as it applies to Social Security. That would again be an EDD question.
Mm-hmm. What payroll documentation is required for sole proprietors with no employees? If my clients' events for this year are all canceled, can I use last year's contracts as documentation?
For self-employed individuals, sole proprietors, it is difficult sometimes to give any sort of documentation. If you've been keeping an accurate account in QuickBooks or whatever accounting system that you use, I would defer to that and definitely present that as your income history, your sales history.
Thank you. We're at 2:15. We still have 36 questions. How would you like to proceed?
I think I probably have 15 minutes left in me. We'll see if we can get this done.
Okay, and if we don't get through everything, we can triage the questions and send out some more information in the follow-up.
Okay.
When I tried to apply, it says I had to have left my job due to having COVID-19 and be certified by a doctor, so a positive test. I was sick, an underlying condition, and had a part-time temp job, so we'll lose about a month or more of pay. Also self-employed, will I be able to apply?
Well, what job did she leave? That's confusing because it sounds like
part-time temp job and self-employed. and she needed to step back from those, but hasn't gotten a positive test. Karen, if I'm putting words in your mouth, just chat me.
So a part-time temporary position, she didn't receive benefits.
It doesn't say. I would assume not.
Yeah, you know, in that situation, I don't know if the FFCRA, the family, it's an extended benefit for paid sick leave for those who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 or had to care for a family member. I'm curious if that benefit also applied to part-time temporary employees.
Thank you.
That I don't know. So I would look into that. And if she worked for a temp agency, or if she had a position through a temp agency, I would ask the temp agency.
Thank you. Which program will help with insurance payments?
Say that again?
Which program will help with insurance payments?
Insurance payments. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I think the EIDL program will cover those types of additional expenses. If you're talking about for employee insurance, or if it's payroll related expenses, then that could be covered. But I'm not sure what you're talking about, what type of insurance.
It doesn't say.
Okay, moving on.
Under PPP, are only full-time 40 hours per week payroll, or is payroll paid to independent contractors or part-time payroll included?
Yeah, good question on the part-time. I think they are eligible, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Okay.
I think they're eligible though. I don't see why they wouldn't be, but I would need to look more into that.
I do freelance work and workload has decreased. What can I do to make up the difference? So freelance.
So we addressed that a little bit with with self-employment benefits. So I would look at what options are available under unemployment. It really depends on the type of work that this person is doing. But the self-employed benefits on the guide on our website, I'm going to encourage you just to look there and start there.
Thank you. Are payroll taxes included in the PPP loan or just wages?
Oh, I thought taxes were included. That's off the top of my head, but I would have to look. You'd have to look again at the resources that I have online on the COVID-19 page under PPP.
Thank you.
So there's several links there that I've included that will take you to the right pages online.
We stocked up inventory right before this hit. Can I use either for business credit card debt?
Say that again.
We stocked up inventory right before this. Can I use either program for business credit card debt?
The EIDL program is designed to cover those types of debts, not PPP.
Thank you. I've been putting my own personal funds to pay 2 months rent, utilities, payroll. Would I be able to use this loan and grant to take my personal money and use the rest for future payroll?
The PPP loan or the EIDL loan?
I think either.
Okay, so EIDL sounds like it's a better option for you.
Great. Regarding EDD unemployment, does the additional $600 draw down to the business account?
If they're talking about the business reserve account, that's an excellent question. And I don't know, but I'm going to say no on that. But I will answer this to any, yeah, Melissa, I think you're right. I think that is a no. I am going to answer this question though, because it hasn't come up. All employers who are putting their employees either on work share, on partial unemployment, and or what I say, work share, partial unemployment, or full unemployment, please know that your rates will increase. They will increase. So unless the federal government steps in and declares like a threshold or moratorium over rate increases in that area, your rate will increase. Now, it can't go up more than $7,000 per employee per year. That's the threshold. But remember, that's for that is for a highly compensated employee. So if you ran a retail store and you're not paying $7,000 a year, most likely into your UI accounts for your employees. But be aware and prepare for rate increases when you hire on new employees next year with all of the unemployment that's going on.
For nonprofits, how do you answer the ownership question?
Oh, okay. I just had this question asked. Emily, can you keep that one for me? Because I have the formal response from the SBA. I'll have to get back to that person.
Yes, ma'am. Will there be a PDF or web-based application to apply for low interest loans from the EDC Disaster Loan Fund?
The application should be out next week, and it's going to be very simple. I don't know if we're going to put it online. We probably can. I mean, I can. I manage the website. The point is, I'm not sure how that process is going to work yet. So usually, if you're not a client with the EDC, we would put you through an intake process, and that's just a phone call with one of our advisors, connect you with one of our financial advisors so you can give them your paperwork and all that, go through the application process, and then you'd be connected to our lending manager. So that's how our process would work. And then funds would be distributed within, we believe, a week or two. So it would be 7 to 14 days after the application is submitted.
If we apply for EIDL and get approved, are we able to defer it until we need it? We are still considered essential for now.
If you're approved, okay, excellent question too, because I think I said this at the beginning. I tell my clients, apply for a loan. If you don't need it, you don't have to take it. And plus, if you don't need, okay, in that scenario, if you apply for $100,000 and you don't need $100,000 come June, you only need 30, you only have to take 30. There's no penalty or anything on that. As far as deferment, all I know is that you can reopen your application. If you declined it, you can reopen your application before the end date. So December, I think it's December 31st this year. So I believe in some ways, yes, you can defer it, but why not just take it and then give it back if you don't need it? I mean, that's kind of what I would do. You're paying such little interest on it. I mean, it's like, you know, it's the best loan product you can get. Okay.
For the forgiveness application process, an LLC's members get paid by guaranteed payments as an actual expense to the business. They are not on payroll. Would these payments be forgivable, and do we include them in payroll cost?
Okay, I don't know that answer, and thank you for clarifying that, because I don't know, I didn't think that payments to officers were included in PPP.
Okay, we
So-
have a couple other questions similar. If the owners receive low payroll and the rest comes from a loan to the officers, can you apply for the difference between the payroll and the 100,000 max as part of your average payroll for the officers and owners? The loans become payment to the officers in the tax return of the S Corp.
That is above my knowledge at this moment. I did not think that PPP was set up to retain payment, payment opportunities for officers. I definitely could be wrong on that. I would need more time to look into that. Or, I mean, we've had a number of our clients already contact their CPA. I know a ton of CPAs are saying they can help people through this as well. If you are an S Corp, I'm assuming that you have a CPA or someone at that level that can assist you. I would ask you to ask them about it, and then revisit the PPP website or the SBA's information on PPP.
Great. As a small hospitality business owner, sole proprietor, I have no employees. I have lost a lot of revenue. I see that this loan is forgivable when used toward paying employees or business expenses, but not for lost revenue. Are there any fully forgivable loans or grants for revenue loss?
Well, you can look at it. You can look at it that way. You can look at if you get $10,000. Think of that as loss, contributing to lost revenue. There are other grant opportunities that I'm seeing now that we haven't personally fully vetted, but there are other local grant opportunities. I don't think Weave is going to be doing a grant opportunity this year. If you are, I doubt they're nonprofit, but if you are a nonprofit, the Santa Barbara Foundation is offering grants. But as far as I know, there are not grants for lost revenue unless you consider the 10,000 upfront contributing to lost revenue.
Great. Are officer salary for S Corp excluded from PPP?
Okay, so that's the officer salary question. I'm going to have to get back to you on that.
And we probably have like 30 seconds left before your 2:30 deadline, and we still have a couple questions. So what we'll do is synthesize these questions, and we can help push those answers back out to all of you.
Awesome. Thank you everyone again for attending. I know we still have I know we still have 129 people listening and 128 people listening. I appreciate it. We will be doing these weekly on every Wednesday from 12:30 to 1:30. And I will make this is being recorded, so we will also put this on the website, and you can listen for answers again or watch the webinar, the PowerPoint again. And I appreciate that. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your questions. And yeah, thank you for attending. And that's it for me.
Thanks,
thank
everyone.
you, Visionality. You're the best.
You're the best. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe. Don't touch your face.
Don't touch your face.
Claire.
Okay, bye.
Bye.